Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Jen Benson, State Director for AARP Massachusetts, and I want to welcome you to this tele-town hall on behalf of AARP Massachusetts. Today, we're going to talk about how to protect yourselves from scams. We're joined by the Honorable Paul Tucker. He is the Essex County District Attorney, a former police chief, and former state representative. If you would like to ask a question, press *3 on your telephone keypad. Remember, at any time, if you would like to ask a question, press *3 on your telephone keypad. This morning, we're talking about what you can do to prevent being scammed and a new piece of legislation that aims to put in consumer protections for cryptocurrency kiosks. House Bill 1247 and Senate Bill 707, an act relative to preventing fraud and establishing regulations on certain virtual currencies. With us today is District Attorney Paul Tucker. He has committed his career to law enforcement. With a long and distinguished career as a police officer, police chief, and state representative, he currently is responsible for leading a staff of nearly 200 to protect and serve the residents of 34 cities and towns extending from Lynn to Gloucester, Lawrence, and Newburyport. Thank you for taking the time today out of your busy schedule to speak with our members. Welcome, District Attorney Tucker. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Good morning, Jen, and thank you. And thank you for the interest and the great work that's been done by AARP, particularly here in Massachusetts. And thank you to all the folks who have joined us on this teleconference. As Essex County District Attorney, I want to go on record as strongly supporting the legislation proposed by the AARP in Massachusetts. This really seeks to specifically address what we have seen, and I don't think it's overstating it to call it an epidemic of fraud. As imaginative as these scammers can be, they're quite sophisticated, they're quite persuasive, and we have so many anecdotal stories that really are cautionary for folks who find themselves in the crosshairs of these scammers. With just one example, we had a 64-year-old, a retired teacher who was shopping for shoes online. When her computer received a virus, she clicked on the link and she was given a phone number to call. They claimed to be from Apple, and the virus had attacked her TD Bank account. She was convinced that someone had used her cell phone to authorize almost $22,000 in Bitcoin transactions. And the scammer, posing as a helper from the bank, claimed that he could help her to get that money back. She followed the instructions. She followed them to a T, unfortunately, going so far as to coach her at the bank to tell the teller that she was buying a car. She ended up depositing that money into a Bitcoin machine, and her money was never recovered. These scammers, I think it's important to note, they're very sophisticated, they're very organized, and the amount of losses is staggering. If you take a look just over the last 3 years, we've tripled the amount of complaints and fivefold in the amount of losses. If you take a look just in Massachusetts alone, we saw over $77 million, and that's what's been reported. I think it's important to note that this type of crime is vastly what we feel is underreported. And the reason for that, there are many. People think that law enforcement can't help. There's no reliable reporting mechanism in Massachusetts. And unfortunately, the shame and the embarrassment that victims feel, oftentimes trying to hide it from other family members. I think what's also important to note is that much of this scamming activity is targeting people aged 60 years or older, and the median loss is around $10,000. Now, a bit of a silver lining here in Essex County. We've been working in partnership with our local police departments, working with the State Police Information Network, and we've conducted numerous investigations into these fraud, and we've had some notable successes in recapturing some funds. But I will say that the vast majority of these funds have been unrecoverable. Often we're unable to make these victims whole. What this bill would do that we strongly support, and again, thank you to AARP, would make sure that we put some regulatory oversight in place. Right now, I've called this the Wild West of scams. and there's so much that we can do. And this common sense bill really does start to address the issues. So happy to be here. Thank you for helping us get the word out, and look forward to answering the questions of the great AARP members.
Thanks so much. For those who joined late, we're being joined by District Attorney Paul Tucker from Essex County. We're talking about how to protect yourself from scams and the legislation AARP Massachusetts has filed. We'll get into that in a minute. But I want to remind you, if you'd like to ask a question, please press *3 on your keypad on your phone so that you can get in our queue to ask your question. So, Paul, I have to say, first of all, I get to call you Paul. We're former colleagues. And I'm really grateful that you're here, and it's amazing the work you're doing in your current role. It's been very exciting, and thank you for your support. Before we get started with questions, I wanted to give listeners a couple of important pieces of information regarding the bill to establish consumer protections for cryptocurrency kiosks, because they are not currently regulated in Massachusetts. So House Bill 1247 and Senate Bill 707 would license cryptocurrency ATM operators in Massachusetts, create daily transaction limits. We would have every machine post fraud warning notices. We'd create a special commission to study this relatively new area in the state and provide new education materials that would be provided by the Commonwealth to residents. This is a really no-nonsense piece of legislation that is focused on ensuring our residents here in the Commonwealth are protected. So, if you've participated in one of our tele-town halls before, you know this is similar to a radio talk show, and you have the opportunity to ask your questions and get answers from our expert live. If you'd like to ask a question, again, please press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member or volunteer who will note your name and question and place you in a queue to ask that question live. *3 is what you need to know. Please press it. We're going to start off, I think, with something sort of interesting, a poll. So on your telephone keypad, indicate if you have ever been the victim of a scam. So have you ever been a victim of a romance scam? Press 1. A grandparent scam? Press 2. An IRS or government scam? Under this, I would put Social Security. Press 3. And any other kind of scam? Press 4. Again, press 1 if you've been the victim of a romance scam. 2 if you have been the victim of a grandparent scam. 3 for a government like IRS scam. And 4, some other kind of scam. We'll give you those results shortly. Now let's get to some questions. Again, if you'd like to ask the DA about scams, press *3 now. Let's go to the phones. Ted, who's our first caller?
The first caller is Carol. She's calling from Braintree. Hello, Carol.
Oh, I guess that's me. Hi, I'm Carol. Yes, I'm Carol with an E. Well, a couple of things, actually, but the latest one was this Saturday. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Hello?
Carol, we hear you.
Okay, and I know that's something they say all the time, too. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? At any rate, it has to do with a credit card, supposedly. So I get a call on a Saturday from California. Evidently, he was calling from California, I found out afterwards. And he's telling me about some person, I don't know, he didn't mention if it's male or female, who's trying to get a credit card using my, I guess he was saying using my name, using my Social Security. And he actually did have my last 4 numbers. One of my questions is, how in heaven's name did he get the last 4 numbers of my Social Security? He didn't know that they were real. I mean, I never said to him, oh, my God, those are my numbers. I was, sharp enough to, first of all, figure out that no company's going to call me on a Saturday to tell me that someone supposedly, I think he said in Minnesota or in Michigan or something like that, was trying to get this credit card. And it seems to me that they would need more than simply the last four numbers of my Social Security to actually get this credit card and use this credit card. At least I was hoping that was true. And what he wanted to do, he told me, I said, I'm not giving you any information. What are you talking about? And basically he says, oh, no. I don't want any information from you. I'm going to give you information, and I want you to tell me if it's right or whatever. And I wasn't really going to do that either. So what he was going to do supposedly is give me different names of, Visa accounts or, whatever other checking accounts. And I was supposed to tell him, oh, yes, that's my account, or that's not my account, or whatever. I didn't. I said, just, do not call me again. And I blocked him from calling me. And so I'm just really curious about that obviously it seemed like a scam for sure. And how in God's name did he get the four numbers of my Social Security, my Social Security number? That was scary.
Great. Well, Carol, let me just say, first of all, you handled that extremely well. You gave no information back.
Oh, God, no. I've learned that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you understood quickly and identified this as most likely a scam because the vast majority are. And unfortunately, the world that we live in now, people's identifying information is out there in various forms. But this seems like a classic case of how good and sophisticated these scammers are.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, because he was going to help me. I mean, that's the new thing, too. The scammers are out helping you not to be scammed, supposedly. And I kind of get a kick out of that. It's like, oh, my God, what are they going to think of next? It's sad.
They try to give you a comfort level to say, hey, you know what, this is legitimate. Let me tell you some information about yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of your last four out there, unfortunately, we do see that a lot. We have people that assume other folks' identity, and those are really difficult cases. Dates of birth are out there in various forms on things on the internet. Obviously, they had numbers there. Yeah, but you handle that well.
Yeah, it's just like, where the heck did he get those darn numbers? That's scary that those numbers are out there, because usually they do it. So give us the last four numbers of your Social Security. But, where in heaven's name did he find it? And then, of course, they are over all the dating sites. I mean, there's one in particular that's notorious for scammers, absolutely notorious. And they're so similar, too. Sometimes I just have fun with them. They're just, they're so similar, it's ridiculous. But at any rate, I actually did talk to one, and basically I let him know that I knew exactly. And he's saying things like, well, we have to make a living. What's so bad about that? He was literally talking to me about the fact that, what's so bad about being a scammer? This is his job. This is what he does. It's not a problem. He needs help, so why can't I help him? I don't think so. I don't help people I don't know. Whatever. At any rate, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. But it is. It's becoming a scary world that we live in.
It really is, and it pays to be vigilant, and in this case you were, so well done.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Carol, thank you so much for sharing your story, and it's great that you handled that so well. Paul, how often do you hear from people who are reporting being scammed but have been as savvy as Carol to be able to make sure they're not giving out any information?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jen, we do hear from folks that report the scams that they successfully did not get entangled with, and they want to let us know. They'll let us know phone numbers. They'll let us know certain email addresses. Those are the success stories. Unfortunately, my office here in Essex County, we see so many people who have unfortunately have fallen victim to this, and oftentimes by the time it does make its way through law enforcement to our office, it's very much too late to do anything about it, particularly if the money was physically in one of the Bitcoin kiosks. The sooner to report it, the better. And I think that there is beginning to be an awareness among folks, particularly retired folks over the age of 60 that have been targeted by this. But the numbers don't lie. And behind every one of these scams and frauds, there's real people, there's real victims, there's real loss. We're adding up to almost one every single day. So we're looking for more of the success stories and less of the scam victims.
Well, that's what we're trying to do today, is to educate people, and we're so grateful you've come on to talk with us. Again, if you'd like to ask a question for Essex County District Attorney Paul Tucker, please press *3 on your keypad. Ted, who's our next caller?
Let's go to Sherry. She's in Belchertown. Hello, Sherry.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Sherry. Welcome.
Thank you. I am originally from Essex County, moving back there in a while. But right now I'm out here in Hampshire, and I just don't know who to talk to. I've been trying several different directions. About a month ago, because of a lower back problem, I had been waiting to hear from my doctor. I had put myself in the queue on my patient portal, and I was waiting to hear from him, and I received a call from a place called Bay State Medical, and they started talking about my doctor having qualified me for a back brace. Well, it was supposed to be either a brace or physical therapy, and so I jumped at it because I was 2 weeks waiting for this call, just knowing whether I could get an appointment with anybody. And unfortunately, I fell into it with them before my little red flag flew. And I verified my Medicare number. So I have since gotten that straightened out, and Medicare was great about it. But I want to report these people because now they're harassing us by phone. We're getting 4 or 5, 6 calls from different people, but now I recognize all their voices. And they're just raising havoc with me because I stopped. And I avoided making the mistake, and I stopped them from getting what they wanted. I'm wondering who I can report the numbers to, because can't find the page right now that I jotted the note on, but I did speak to a very nice lady somewhere at state level that suggested that was for seniors, and she gave me the Medicare number that I finally had success with on that. But I have a list of telephone numbers that I have been taking off my phone after they call. Now, I know between everybody carrying their phones around with them and nobody has, you sometimes don't know where in the world they're calling from because the numbers are all different than your local number. Like my prefix is 413323 here in where I live now. Is there anybody directly? I know Paul, his office might not be able to help me, but who would I call out here directly? Who would I get in touch with here in Springfield area?
Great. Well, thanks, I appreciate the call, and when you do move back to Essex County, we'll be happy to welcome you here. So that's a fairly common scam, the Medicare. I've actually gotten those calls myself, believe it or not, on my work phone, my district attorney phone, people asking to verify my Medicare number, but again, they're looking for information. Now, in terms of reporting it, there's a couple of different avenues you can do, and I strongly suggest to report it. The first one is the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. They have a report fraud line, and they're also on the internet. It's called IC3. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Center. You can also report scam calls to 7726 on your mobile carrier, 7726, and that'll help you to block the numbers. So there's a couple different ways to approach this. I also oftentimes will ask people to notify the local police departments, because even though they may not be able to take direct action, what they can do is generate a report, take those phone numbers, and actually forward that the authorities. In this particular case, the FTC, the report fraud.ftc.gov. I'll say that again. It's reportfraud.ftc.gov, and there's an aggregate of information that they will put together. I also would like to add that we work with NESPIN, the New England State Police Information Network. They've also been a very good resource for us.
Can you repeat that?
Yep. So it's the New England State Police Information Network, and you'll find them online as well.
Okay.
And for each one of these, so for Medicare, I know there's a specific unit that will take a look at this, but I would start at the FTC on their fraud line. That's where I would start to make sure that they get the information.
That's good to know. They're just they're like a dog with a bone. They just the tenacity, especially after I finally really got a hold of something they had said, and I said, "Oh no, we're not going any further with this." And we've tried just hanging up without saying anything. We've tried. My husband likes to get fresh with them, but I just want them to go away. And I was told by Medicare that because of a problem, about a year or so ago, where some numbers were, some computers were gotten into at a business level, that's why they had my Medicare number, because all I did was I verified the whole damn number. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear.
No, it's okay, and I understand the frustration.
So it seemed to stop there. They did help me, and this person helped me on the fraud. Gave me recommendations, but did not mention several of these places to call, especially the state police. So I will try that. I just don't want other people to get stuck.
Yeah,
Sherry,
it's really wonderful you called in and shared your story. I think you're really helping everyone by sharing that. And as the DA said, scammers are getting more and more sophisticated, and being able to identify them is getting even harder. So thanks for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. I will add just briefly that AARP has a Fraud Watch Network helpline, toll free at 877-908-3360. In case anybody here has a question or concern, you can get resources through the Fraud Watch helpline. Ted, who's our next caller?
Hey, let's go to Thomas. He's calling us from Swampscott. Hello, Thomas.
Hello. Thank you for joining in. I wanted to bring up the phone manufacturers and their role in this. I know that probably the biggest thing that we can do is try to protect ourselves. There's probably nothing as effective as that. And when we're talking about emails, scam emails that come in, the return address can come in one of two forms, and one is just a name that might sound legitimate, like Bank of America, and the other is the email address. And we are always told that one of the biggest giveaways is the actual email address, that there's a difference between legitimate email addresses and scam email addresses, and you look at that address and it really helps you tell right up front whether you're getting scammed. But when I receive an email on my iPhone or on my iPad, Apple covers up the email address. They only show the thing that sounds legitimate that a scammer can fake. And so when they don't show us the email address, it's the phone company that is kneecapping our capacity to protect ourselves. And so I really wanted to ask the DA, is there anything that can be done to compel the phone companies to enable us to protect ourselves by openly sharing the email address or other information that would betray scammers before we fall for their tricks? Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for the call from Swampscott. So there's a few things to consider here. One is that to be aware that there is these spoof emails. We've actually gotten people that have gotten scam inquiries where it's coming up with a bank address, with a bank name. I saw one where there was a local police department. It came up as if they were the ones that were calling. So there is that spoof part of it as well. I also believe that if you hover over the email, it may in some cases actually come up. I think your point is also well taken, Thomas, because I want to add one other piece here that I'm sure that some of the callers have experienced, and that was the fraud of the transponders. Everybody has the transponders on their windshields when they go through the tolls, and I've probably gotten a half a dozen of these saying that I owe money to the state. And if you took a look at the email, it would come across as Massachusetts. It was Registry of Motor Vehicles, but if you look, it was a .org, O-R-G, and that's not a government. It should have been .gov. And so many people have fallen for that one. It's incredible the amount of folks that were scammed by that. And Thomas, your point is a good one, because if somebody had looked at the email and knew that .org was not a government website address or good email, they would have seen it. We are seeing these. They are more sophisticated.
Yeah, I look at those when I see them on my regular PC. I can see exactly what you're describing, but when I get it on an iPhone, I cannot. It's covered.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I will do, Thomas. We've got a pretty good IT staff here. I'm going to bring this up to their attention, exactly what you're asking about, and we can dig a little bit deeper. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for those still listening, if you have not gotten in the queue to ask your question, don't forget to press *3 to get in that queue to talk with DA Paul Tucker from Essex County. Ted, who's our next caller?
Let's go to Brenda. She's calling from Newtonville. Hello, Brenda.
Hello. Quick question. If you feel you are being scammed, who do you call? What's the first call? I don't want to call my local police. That doesn't seem right. Maybe it is.
So actually, Brenda, it is the local police. And
okay.
What we suggest is if you have any doubt at all, you can ask for a callback number that whoever's on the phone, hang up, call the local police. They may have some capabilities to run that number. They're going to ask you some questions about it. Those are the things that we want to know about. Those are the reports that we need to generate. And it actually begins at the local level. The key here is to move fast. We ask people to call right away. And trust me, the local police department, they will want to know this. And the closer in time that we can get a report generated to when the scam attempt was made, the much better success we would have. You know, a lot of the banks right now are doing a public service announcement, and it's a very simple one. It's modeled after the old thing that we see now: see something, say something. The campaign now is, would a bank really ask you that, or would a credit card company really ask you that? And we're asking people to take a step back and not dive headfirst into answering questions, particularly from strangers on the phone. Take a step back, be vigilant, be alert, and we think that that'll help. But the key is to move fast, to not get drawn into it. If there's nothing that's that important, that's somebody that you need to give information to them immediately. There's nothing that's that important. I think if people took a step back, take 5 or 10 minutes to think about it, to talk to the local police. We've had so many times where local police will get a call just like this, and they'll tell people that's a scam. We've already gotten calls on it. And again, that's the value of reporting at the local level. If you get a police officer, they'll tell you, yep, we've already gotten 10 of those calls today. It's a scam.
Great, thanks.
Appreciate the call. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda. And Paul, that's a really, really good point about local police being able to track and keep track and be able to let people know on a local level what is a scam and what they're seeing as trends. Do you see that more people are calling into their local police and enabling that to happen?
Yes, I do. I do, Jen, because of the awareness and the work, just like we're doing here this morning with AARP, I think the awareness has been raised. And I think the general public, particularly among our retired folks and senior citizens, I believe are becoming more aware and more adept at handling these things. And part of the success of these teleconferences and town halls is actually helping us to get the word out. When we can speak with hundreds of people at a time, and we hope that those folks even bring that forward to their friends and relatives and really start to educate the public. And that's a lot about what we're doing, and that's why we're working on this bill as well, and asking people to support it, as I am, as AARP is as well. So yes, there is quite a bit of, I think, work being done, education being done, and just a key point, Jen, if I may, on Brenda's previous call, the local police departments are becoming very adept at this as well, how to handle these things, and it might even be a local scam. We've seen where people are calling different communities claiming to be from police officers' foundations, firefighters' foundations, and the police will immediately get on and say, that's not authorized, that's a scam. And the best way to do that is to call and check in.
Thanks so much. That's really important information. And it shows how important it is to, as soon as possible, call those local police and let them know if you believe you're being scammed. I wanted to give you the results of our poll question for those who are on the line and answered. I lost the actual number of votes here, but I can tell you that about a third of youth were subjected to grandparent scams, 2% for romance scams, and by far, I think about 67% pressed number 4, other types of scams. And 17% were government or IRS type scams. So thank you so much for answering that. It helps us see what the trends are right now. I'm sure the DA is appreciative to hear from you and what you've been seeing. Ted, who's our next caller?
Next caller is Patricia. She's calling from Springfield. Patricia.
Well, hello there. Good morning.
Good morning,
Hello?
Patricia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I want to know why there has to be so much of these calls, and not only that, I'm 65 and over, and I have a mother-in-law who's over 90, and we both wait for doctors to call and this and that, and these scammers are just taking over all of our time, and we've both fallen and ended up in the hospital because of these scammers. How and why can't somebody stop this?
Yeah, so Patricia, I think you speak for many people, and unfortunately what you have faced and your mother-in-law faced is something that we see every day. I guess the good news is that law enforcement, that the legislation here, lawmakers, public officials, there has finally been what I would call a reckoning where there's so much that we can do and that we are doing. We're actually starting to see across the country where states are taking some pretty strong action. There's been a handful of states who have enacted the bill that we're supporting, and there's some others that have it pending. But we are united to try to stop this. People are listening. I think if we had had this teleconference a couple of years ago, not many people would even be interested in this. It's taking many, many people to ring the alarm, and I'm very pleased that AARP has been a leader in I say, ringing this alarm. You know, what we're looking to do is just common sense approaches here, as Jen mentioned. You know, the licensing of these of these cryptocurrencies, the daily limits, things like that. We're working on this, and I think we're doing a fairly good job with it. I also want to mention, if I could, I think this is a good time, Patricia and others. The Attorney General's office here in Massachusetts, AG Andrea Campbell, she has an elder hotline, and I'm going to give you a couple of times to make sure you get it. And this is specifically to assist people over the age of 60. I'm going to give you the number. It's the Attorney General's office hotline to assist people over the age of 60. And that's 1-888-243-5337. I'll say that one more time. 1-888-243-5337. And I know Attorney General Campbell and her team have been very responsive in this area. That's a dedicated hotline for folks over the age of 60, Patricia, facing exactly what you and your mother-in-law, unfortunately, have had to deal with. But there are resources, and I think we're getting better and better at this. But we really do need the tools that this bill really would give us. You know, it's interesting. My office had seen so many of these scams that we were ready to try to do some legislation on our own. And then we realized that what the AARP bill does is exactly and precisely what we wanted to do. That's why we're proud to partner with AARP on this.
That's great. I have people that call me all the time and tell me, oh, I've gotten this call and I've gotten that call. I've had police departments calling me for money. I'm like, sorry, I don't give. And I hang up.
Well, that's the right thing to do. And if the police departments are calling for money, you can pretty much rest assured that's a scam. And as I mentioned earlier in the previous call, Brenda, you can call the local PD and check. But Patricia, what you've done by hanging up is the right thing.
Yeah, that's what
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Thanks so much, Patricia, for joining us and sharing your story again. And thanks to DA Paul Tucker for, telling you like it is. And thanks so much. But we want to hear from you again. For those of you who have been a victim of scam, were you able to recover any of the money you lost? Press yes. Press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. We'd love to hear from you on that. That's something we've been tracking and are interested in. So have you been able to recover any of the money you lost through a scam? 1 for yes, 2 for no. And just again, I want to ask DA Paul Tucker a question about scams. If you would like to ask, press *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected to us and get in that Q&A queue. So we would love to hear more from you. I see lots of people here lined up. But if you're interested for more information and alerts regarding scams and fraud affecting people in Massachusetts, we invite you to join the AARP Fraud Watch Network by calling our free helpline at 1-877-908-3360. We actually have volunteers from the Fraud Watch Network here screening your calls. So when you call and talk to someone, it's likely one of our Fraud Watch volunteers. Ted, who's our next caller?
Let's go to Sylvester in Taunton. Hello, Sylvester.
Yes, good morning. I'm calling regarding data breaches. In the past year, I've got, I think, roughly 4 notices from banks as well as credit card companies. And I've elected to take the free protection plans that have been offered. But my question is, do I have to keep on doing this for each individual scenario, or is one plan cover all of the data breaches?
So good question, and unfortunately we have seen, again, I'll call it an epidemic of data breaches. We've seen, whether it's through businesses, healthcare institutions, we've seen so many data breaches, oftentimes with thousands and thousands of people's information spread out there. Some of these protection plans, and from what I've seen, are very good, and I don't believe you would need one for every single of one of the, and I think you mentioned you had 4 notices of data breach.
Yes.
I believe that the one, if you get a good protection plan, and most places are paying for that, if they're responsible for the data breach, as they should,
Yes.
you should be protected. Now, it's also important to note that out of those sometimes thousands of data breaches, only a few people will actually be the subject of a scam. There's something out there called the dark web where if a lot of illegal activity goes on, sometimes identifications are sold in batches, but only a few of those might actually be the targets of scams. But having said that, I think having that protection in place is extremely important. And if I may just add one piece here, because in my county, in Essex County, we've actually had some fraudulent real estate transactions. And if you go to, and if you're in Essex County, if you contact the Register of Deeds, Eileen Duff, they have a protection plan in place for free if you ask for it. That's for real estate transactions. We actually had a piece of property in Merrimack Valley that had been abandoned, but still had an ownership. And a stranger came along and, believe it or not, sold the property to an unwitting buyer. And if you can imagine the difficulty in trying to untangle that. So as a result, in Essex County, and you may have other Register of Deeds as well, there's a free protection plan in place. If you're a homeowner or a property owner, that you'll have protections in place, and it's free. It's important to do that, and if you get a good service, you should be protected from all of those breaches.
I see. Now, that's only for Essex County, or is there a general number you can call to see if your county is protected?
So when it comes to the protection, that would be across the Commonwealth. When I mentioned Essex County, that was for real estate breaches where somebody's trying to sell real estate that they don't own. I just use that by way of example, but the data protection would be statewide.
I see. Okay.
So if I may, we just did some quick research. There is a company called LifeLock, and I mentioned that because AARP members can save up to 44% of the cost. I know LifeLock, and from what we've seen, they've been in this business for a while. They'll guarantee reinstatement if your identity is compromised. If you take a look, again, through AARP membership, you can save up to 44% on the cost. So that's a company that the AARP would stand with.
Okay. All right. Well, that
Thank
sounds
you.
very...
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye.
And I found this interesting. Paul, just a quick, the results from our poll, 59% of respondents said that, yes, they were able to recover money lost, but that means 41% did not.
It's good to hear that number. Our results, I would say, Jen, are mixed at best. And just to reiterate what I had mentioned previously, the quicker that there's a realization that this is a scam, the quicker you get that law enforcement on it, the quicker that we get on it, the chances of recovering the money are much, much higher. So it really has to do with trying to get this to law enforcement and prosecutors' attention as quickly as possible. And that gives a much better chance of returning the funds.
Thank you. That's great. That's great information. Ted, who's our next caller?
Let's go to Jerry. Jerry, he's in Wellesley. Hello, Jerry.
Hi, this is Jerry. How you doing?
Hey, Jerry, good morning.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of examples that happened to me recently. I think we're all familiar with, occasionally we'll get a text message from our bank saying that your card has been used in Miami at Home Depot for $450 and so forth, and call this number. Well, the top number of where it came from is legitimate, but the bottom number, the formatting of the number was bogus. Instead of having like 1-800, it had like 18 space and then 3 and then 4 digits. So that's an obvious scam. The second one that I was involved with was the grandfather scam. Now, I always tell people, just because we're old doesn't make us stupid. So I get this call, and there's a gravelly voice, and it says, "This is your grandson. I'm in trouble." So I said, "Well, what's your name?" "You probably don't recognize me because I've got COVID, but it's really your nephew." I said, "Fine, what's your name?" He said, "John." I said, "Nice try," and I hung up. I guess the message I would give people is a couple of things. One, if you don't recognize the phone number, don't answer it. They'll leave a message. Don't run to the phone. Same thing on the emails. And relative to Tom's question, on your iPhone, if you tap the sender address a couple of times, it will want to put it into your address book, and then you can see the full address and recognize that it's bogus. But don't fall for these things. They all think we're stupid, and unfortunately, if you answer the phone, they know it's a live number, because what they're doing is they're sending out a number, like, for example, they're sending out a number for 781-235 and then all possible 4 combinations for the ending. And so if you answer right away, they know it's live. And they will sell these live numbers to other scammers, and that's why you get continual calls. So that's what I've got for today.
Yeah.
Thanks,
hey,
Jerry.
Yeah, those are all excellent points. That's real life, things that have happened. And the message here, and it was a perfect education piece, is if you get an unexpected call, a text message, a computer pop-up, or email, if it's unexpected, start off being skeptical. Take a look at it. You can look these things up yourself. Those are all very good points. And I just want to add on the grandparent piece. These scammers make hundreds of calls a day, and if they're successful in 1% of them, they've gotten what they wanted. And we've got to be able to make sure our seniors are equipped to be able to say no, to ask the questions, to not be afraid to hang up. This is one of those, the grandparent scam, I think, is one of those ones where the average person says, "Oh, I would never fall for that." And then something happens and they get drawn in by very sophisticated scammers, and they end up being victimized. So, Jerry, that was a very, very good call.
Thank you so much. We have time for one more question. I know there's a lot of you in line, and I'm so sorry we weren't able to get to everyone, but we'll provide you a lot of good information at the end, so please stay and listen to the end. Ted, who is our next caller?
Let's go to Marie. She's in Worcester. Hello, Marie.
Hi, Marie.
Yes, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I am trying to find out how could I stop the scammers from calls that I have every day about fake charitable contributions for police and the fire department, and also getting the emails and messages from my messenger about these contributions and paying traffic tickets online.
Yeah. Marie, unfortunately, that happens quite a bit. So a couple of things you can do is, one, make sure that your phone number is signed up on the do not call list. Make sure you sign up. There's an actual website you can go to register your number, put it on the do not call list. Secondarily to that, if you get one of those calls, you can block that number. If it's on a cell phone, you can block it. Now, unfortunately, more will keep coming in. And if you block them, and if you're on the do not call list, you should be able to cut down on the amount of those calls. I know the federal government is actually doing some real vigilant work and trying to be preventive. I just saw where they shut down a complete scamming operation down in Miami that was making thousands and thousands of calls a day, and the government just shut that down because of all the complaints. So that's why it's not a waste of time to make sure that if you do have a list of these numbers, that you can send them and you can put them on the list that the government will take a look at and follow up. So I appreciate the call from Worcester.
Yeah, thank you so
Marie.
much. Thank you so much for that. Yes.
Thank you. And the do not call list, if you want to get signed up on that, which I recommend you do, that is donotcall.gov. www.donotcall.gov. Pretty easy to remember. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time. I know we have some questioners left, but we are happy you joined us. I'm sorry we couldn't get to your calls. But first of all, I have to thank DA Tucker, Essex County DA Paul Tucker, for joining us. We had a great conversation. You've given out so much excellent information, and I know you're diligently working on scams in your county. And we thank you for supporting and working with us on our legislation. And whether it's over the phone, through the email, online, or at your front door, scam artists are out there, and they're looking for new ways to get you and your loved ones open your wallets. Joining the AARP Fraud Watch Network is a great way to learn about the most effective ways to protect you and your loved ones from identity theft and fraud. If you haven't had a chance to sign up yet, you can call our Fraud Watch Network helpline toll-free at 1-877-908-3360. You can add your address to the Fraud Watch mailing list. I know we had one question about how can you get information through the mail. Well, this is the way to do it. Again, call 1-877-908-3360. And if it's easier for you, you can sign up online at our website, aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. Also, each month here in Massachusetts, we hold Fraud Talk Tuesday. The second Tuesday of the month, we get together virtually to hear about different scams going on here in Massachusetts. For more information, check out aarp.org/MA. Thank you for participating in the discussion. We apologize if we weren't able to get to your questions. Do you have some last words of advice for our folks here on the call? Paul?
I do. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Thank you to AARP for partnering with us on this legislation. It's important, and hopefully it will save a lot of folks a lot of difficult times and frankly, financial difficulties. This is important. It's important that we educate the public, particularly our seniors. I ask our seniors to pay attention, to speak with family members, take that extra time, don't rush into anything. And if you find yourself on a call where somebody is asking you to deposit your hard-earned money into a Bitcoin kiosk, all of the red flags should go up. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. And if you have been scammed, please reach out to us as quickly as possible. Thank you, Jen. Thanks to AARP. And thanks to all the callers and listeners who took your time this morning. And please help us to spread the word. Much appreciated. Thank you from Essex County.
Thank you again, DA Paul Tucker, for joining us, my former colleague from the House. It's great to hear from you. Thank you to all of you who got the call, got on the phone, stayed on the line, and listened to this important information. Please also remember to check out aarp.org/MA for future events. And we welcome you at any time to give us a call if you have questions, comments, or need a little help. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.